Hello and welcome, I'm Tafaragadamu. The Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe has been in town as part of his visit to 3 African countries. A number of deals have been made, and the Japanese seem to be eager to bring the relations between the 2 countries to a higher level. And I'm joined by Masaru Sato of the Japanese Ministry of Foreign Affairs to explore what really is in store. Welcome to the program.
You're welcome. Yeah, this is my pleasure.
I would like to know, this is the first time in 8 years that the Japanese Prime Minister is visiting Africa. Why now?
I think, as you may remember, last year there was a TICAD 5 in Yokohama. This is International Development Forum to discuss African development, hosted by the Japanese government. And at that occasion, there many African leaders expressed their wish to see Prime Minister Abe on the African continent. And Prime Minister Abe wanted to realize, make a return visit to this very vibrant, dynamic continent as soon as possible. So this is a kind of his wish came true.
You covered in just eight days, what is Ivory Coast, Mozambique, now Ethiopia. I mean, that is quite a very, very speedy visit.
Yeah.
Is it correct to conclude that there is some kind of reorientation in Japanese foreign policy as far as Africa is concerned?
Actually, Africa is truly a very dynamic, region, and this is the next frontier of this 21st century, we believe. And it is now is the time for Japan to make more investment to this continent, and now is the time for African leaders and African people to decide Japan as one of important business partners. So that's why this visit by Prime Minister was realized at this time, and this is a very good occasion for us, because Africa is not only economically but also globally and politically and in terms of international affairs, gaining a presence. And this is very important to have exchange of leaders, and as frequent as possible. And I think this is not the only time. I think he believes that he wants to make as many trips as possible to this continent.
Is it fair to say that Japanese presence in Africa was marginal?
No, I don't think so. But the opposite, I think. And it's been observing a very impressive economic performance over the last decade, more than 7% on the average. And I think there is a very good opportunity exists between the 2 partners. And Japan has been doing what only Japan can do for the sustainable, robust, economic growth in this continent. And African people need have a very, very young population and a bright future in the future, despite some conflict and also challenges facing them. So we can combine our strengths, and so that to bring a great dream for the future generation of each partners.
Are you trying to start afresh to kind of make your presence felt in the African continent in terms of investment and so on and so forth? Mm-hmm. What comes to mind is, look, I mean, you have the Indians, you have the Chinese, you have others from the Orient channeling their money into the African continent and getting their cut.
Actually, I think each partnership between Africa and its partners has its own strengths and weakness. I think, but in that context, Japan has been hosting this TICAD 5 since 1993, more than 20 years. And I think we have full confidence in what we are doing, because one of the important things for quality growth in Africa is to bring more foreign direct investment. And in order to realize that, you need to engage the private sector outside the country. And And that's why we are now promoting, Japan is promoting PPP, public-private partnership, which can leverage that important private business. And that is why Prime Minister Abe is being accompanied by the large scale of private delegation this time. And this was a very good occasion for private sector people to take a first-hand look at what's actually happening and what is the potential and what is the weakness to be overcome. And this can be best done by top-level sales promotion involving the Japanese Prime Minister and involving the African leaders. Not only in Ethiopia, in Abidjan, we are making three countries, making visit to 3 African countries this time. But we met more than 15 people because in Abidjan, as a destination of this trip, President of Cote d'Ivoire was kind enough to invite other 15 heads of states in West Africa, ECOWAS, and 11 of them showed up. And this is a proof that not only Japan, but African leaders feel that what's missing, what's really needed right now in the growth, quality growth, is an enhanced partnership, true partnership with Japan. And we have been characterized. Our assistance has been characterized by not only buying commodities or exploring natural resources, but rather we have been supporting African countries to improve infrastructure like roads and ports to support future investment. And also, what's most important is that empowering each individual in Africa, which has going to establish a relationship of trust with the Japanese companies, the Japanese government and organizations. So empowering people and also help improve the infrastructure, in addition to just doing trade and business. This combined approach is very important in our belief, because we have a history of overcoming the devastation after the World War II. And we try to share this experience with other East Asian countries. And now Africa is entering the period of growth, prosperity, and it's about time for Japan to fully engage, although at the initial stage, as you may refer to. But this is our strong commitment to develop and deepen our true partnership with Africa.
You said minerals and so on. What's wrong with that, with doing that? I'm assuming that, for example, the Chinese are exploring minerals and engaging the Africans along that line. What's wrong with that? You don't see...
we don't criticize any third development partner for Africa, because each partner has its own strengths and weakness. The important thing is that our strength lies in empowering people and improving the infrastructure, so that the African people or government will be able to run the project on their own later on. Because this is a midterm or long-term most important element for sustainable development in our view. And this has been proven by our own experience in the past.
So you have a number of private investors in this delegation?
Actually, this delegation comprises of companies, of trading firms, and infrastructure development companies, like construction companies, as well as university presidents, as well as JICA, JETRO, and the variety of segments of the private sector in Japan shown interest in doing more business with Ethiopia. So that's why this is we were able to make the first visit to Ethiopia, bringing this large number of delegation from the private sector.
They talk to their counterparts in Ethiopia?
I think there was a big gathering attended by both Japanese delegation from the private sectors as well as from Asia, their Ethiopian counterparts, like Ethiopian Air President and Chairperson of the Chamber of Commerce in Ethiopia. And this time, we were able to sign the amendment to the existing aviation treaty between Japan and Ethiopia. This could be potentially extremely important for the future of our relations, because in our view, true partnership must be built on in a kind of a trust or confidence between two people. And one way of nurturing that bond is through people-to-people exchange. And I can easily expect that probably more people will come to Ethiopia to go to Japan, and tourism resources will be explored further, because you have many World Heritage sites which many Japanese don't don't know yet, and also the business opportunities will be enhanced. So because Addis Ababa is a hub of aviation, I realized, flying from Abidjan to this capital. So this is could be a very big boost for further enhancement of our business relations.
Okay, so you have this delegation, you have this heads of companies and institutions have joined the Prime Minister Abe's delegation. Do you think there is going to be active engagement, mature to a higher level?
I think as Prime Minister...
Because I'm thinking about, you said this trust.
Sure. I think as Prime Minister Abe stressed to Prime Minister Marihariam, Japan will continue to provide a strong support to the economic reform in this country. And also we are providing advice through this industrial policy dialogue, attended by not only government officials but also very noted professors in Japan, and we will continue to do that. And in addition to that, I mentioned the direct flight between the two countries. And we will direct flight connecting Addis Ababa and Tokyo. And also, we will continue to provide human resources development. And we are pleased to announce on Tuesday, we are pleased to announce that the number one hub for developing human resources in Africa, was established by naming Ethiopian Kaizen Institute as such human resources development center in Africa. We promised to build 10 such centers last year, and yours is a first. And this institute is expected to contribute to promotion of this Kaizen philosophy. It's a continuous improvement in your workplace, and this has proven very effective in the Japanese companies after the World War II. And this was promoted to other East Asian nations. And also, secondly, we would like to invite dozens of future entrepreneurs from Ethiopia, starting from next year. And this is part of Abe Initiative. This is an acronym of African Business Education Initiative for the youth. And also, if you participate in this program, you are invited to study at Japanese universities, and more than dozens of almost 70 universities expressed the intention to invite African youth. And also, not only that, but also they are given the opportunity to work as an intern at Japanese companies, so that they can have a first-hand knowledge of what the Japanese management philosophy is really about, so that they will be able to make use of it when they become real entrepreneurs in Ethiopia in the future. This is not a short-term project, but a long-term project, but which has proven to be very successful to the Japanese. And also, I would add that in this case, the second tenet of our assistance is helping improve the infrastructure. And in this case, we have been Japanese companies contributing to construct roads connecting very difficult places where occasionally landslide took place. And we are continuing to do this by expanding the area of cooperation, by possibly providing yen loan to this country, and by including providing assistance to energy sector, such as geothermal power generation. And Japan, this is another area where Japan's strength, expertise is very strong in the world. And also, we will continue to geothermal power generation. And we are now I understand the Ethiopian government is conducting a feasibility study, and we will wait for the result. And we commit our assistance to formulate a master plan, which is a broader, survey concerning the geothermal power generation in this country. So we are already committed, in a sense that this expansion of economic cooperation between the two countries.
So also Ethiopia is hosting a number of refugees from neighboring countries. Yeah. I understand that you, the Japanese, are interested in supporting Ethiopia along that line.
Yes, the refugee issue is very important global challenge. And September last year, Prime Minister Abe announced at the United Nations General Assembly that Japan wants to play a more proactive role to ensuring peace and stability in the world. And this includes further assistance to address the refugee issues facing Africa. And we very much appreciate the initiative efforts taken by the Ethiopian government, Prime Minister Haile Mariam, to stabilize in this sub-region of the Horn of Africa. And so we would like to provide our assistance, first of all, by in two forms. One is to provide more than $11 million of humanitarian assistance to address Sudanese or Somali refugees inside Ethiopia. And also we very much appreciate the efforts taken by Ethiopia to provide peacekeepers to these sub-regions. And we would like to provide additional financial support as much as $500,000 US dollars to help build support the activities of a peacekeeping operation center in Ethiopia. And so these are kind of concrete steps we are taking during this time.
So for the Japanese, peace and security issues are as important as other development concerns.
Yeah, challenges we face. First is, as you know, how to realize quality growth in African continent. But the prerequisite for realizing that is ensuring peace and security on the continent. And in a sense that the Japanese companies are also concerned about the security situation in some parts of Africa. We have been conveying their request to their counterpart governments to do more to improve the security situation. And also we have been requesting to African counterparts to take further actions to improve the business environment for further investment coming from Japan.
What is the reaction like?
Yeah,
you're prevailing over African countries to make the environment conducive for your investments, right? What is the reaction like from them?
Yeah, I think
you say go ahead and take some risk because that's what's very important.
This is not the first time we raised this issue of investment environment for investors. But at the last TICAD we had compiled a document detailing what kind of concrete measures are necessary to improve the business environment for investments. So, but this time it was a very good occasion for business leaders to exchange views with their counterparts and directly convey their view to the leaders of African countries. So we will continue to do that. This is a two-way process, and we are not trying to skip that important part of establishing a legal framework and administrative framework for sustained development in this country.
And I understand that your Prime Minister has addressed that particular issue in the speech that he delivered at the African Union.
He has made a speech at this AU headquarters, and I think this was a major speech explaining Japan's philosophy policy toward Africa, and this was a very good occasion to address the entire African audience, as well as people in Ethiopia. And I think, in addition to talking about bilateral cooperation between Japan and Ethiopia, he made a series of new package of assistance to address the peace and stability, as well as disaster response on this continent. And he announced that 320 million US dollar worth of new assistance, and including 25 million humanitarian assistance to address the situation in South Sudan, as well as 3 million US dollar assistance to address the situation in Central Africa. We believe stability and security, peace and stability on the continent is very important, and we will continue to assist that. And also, as related to the situation in South Sudan, we very much appreciate the initiative taken by Prime Minister Haile Mariam on this regard, and at the same hotel, there has been a negotiation between the parties involved. We, during the summit meeting, we agreed to continue to have close contact between the two governments, and continue to urge all the parties concerned to reach agreement to stop acts of hostility as soon as possible, and to implement it, and also to realize a real national conciliation in that newest country in the world. We should remember the exciting moment of 2011, and we should continue to help them maintain future dream for the people in South Sudan, and we will play our part. And in this occasion, we also conveyed that to the Ethiopian leader that we have been providing, dispatching self-defense forces numbering 400 self-defense forces personnel to help build their new nation, specifically constructing roads. This is another example of providing assistance to improving infrastructure. Our assistance has been consistent in our philosophy.
Well, thank you very much for your time. It was a pleasure having you on my show.
Thank you very much.